Hello everyone. Welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast is part of a Deluge report. This audio podcast is part of a Ztorm torrent. This audio podcast is part of a Ztorm and Ostix rage. This audio podcast is part of the bookish. This audio podcast is part of a Ztorm Ostix production. In this audio podcast, I look at the research gap and research approach and the research questions and in around the research question and the sort of the sort of strength and limitations of a publication by Mohammed from 2019. The publication is a publication looking at using social media or mainstream media to prompt organ transplantation education, and it's a sort of scientist perspective on CKD. So in around the research gap and the research approach, the publication looks to offer an overview surrounding social media and health education, CKD or chronic kidney disease, and an Islamic basis or Islamic stance surrounding solid organ transplantation, and look at sort of look at an aspect in around Islam, and sort of the definition or the basis of knowledge, and look at Islam and science, and a scientist role surrounding education for Muslim patients and non-Muslim patients, or non-faiths. So and as part of the research question, the publication had three main questions. Firstly, is there an Islamic stance on using social media or mainstream media to prompt organ transplantation education? Secondly, can Muslims donate organs? And thirdly, does the healthcare scientists do healthcare scientists have a role in providing the public education surrounding organ transplantation? Additionally, the publication uses CKD or chronic kidney disease as a sort of as an example in context of healthcare and disease or condition. And the works the publication or the publication is within the remit of a scientist perspective on laboratory medicine and integrated transplant immunobiology services for CKD recipients. And as part of the strength of the publication, the research looked at the literature, or the publication looked at the literature surrounding solid organ transplantation, social media, and aspects pertaining to theology, focusing primarily on the Islamic faith. And around the limitations, one of the limitations of this publication is that it does not compare or contrast in surrounding other theologies or other faiths. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This audio podcast is part of a Deluge report. This audio podcast is part of a Ztorm torrent, and this audio podcast is part of a Ztorm and Ostix rage, and this audio podcast is part of the bookish, and this audio podcast is part of a Ztorm Ostix production.